First of all, I want to welcome everyone to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the youth and educational programs here. And we're extremely excited to have you all connected into our Heart of the Hall of Famer series featuring Pro Football Hall of Famer Mr. Joe DeLamielleure. And I think we've got a bunch of, for the most part, I know Forest Hills has done our program before. Looking at the list, I think most of you are new to this program, maybe not to our program specifically, but new to this series, Heart of the Hall of Famer. And the real idea and premise behind this is to convey what it took to get in the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. We know our Hall of Famers are awesome examples of skill and athleticism and talent, but it obviously took a lot more than that to get enshrined in the Hall of Fame. It took those 6 pillars that you guys are studying: the trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, citizenship, and a whole bunch of other character qualities to make it in the Hall of Fame. And I think maybe, I don't know if it's a secret or not, but I don't think it is. But I want to let you guys know that these aren't character qualities to being a great football player. These are character qualities to being a Hall of Famer in everything that you do, whether it's being the very best student in your class or in your school, whether it's being the very best sibling, whether it's being the very best son or daughter to your parents, whether it's being a great community member, being a volunteer, whatever it is that you do. If you take these character qualities, they're at the core of who you are. I can guarantee you will achieve a lot of things in your life, not only just in sports, but in other areas of life as well. If you keep these character qualities close and continue trying to strive to build your character and keep building that. With that being said, there's a few, obviously I need to thank all the schools that are tuned in here today, and I'd like to recognize those schools. And if you would, you can unmute your microphones as I call upon you. Just so you know, for those that are using the software for the first time, if you just left click on your screen, you'll see unmute. So on your box, you can click on that, or down the bottom left-hand side, you can see the audio setting, mute my audio. You can mute and unmute down at the bottom there, just so you know. So with that being said, I'd like to recognize, first of all, I think joining in from Sidman, Pennsylvania, we have Forest Hills Elementary. If you want to give a little shout out, go ahead, Forest Hills.
Hi.
Okay, thank you, Forest Hills. We're going to go from Pennsylvania, not too far away from you guys there, Sidman, Lost Creek, West Virginia. Let's go to Lost Creek Elementary.
Yeah. Hi.
Okay, thank you very much, Lost Creek. And we're going to go from West Virginia to Idaho to Troy Elementary School.
Hi.
Perfect. Thank you, Troy. Appreciate it. Perfect. And then last but definitely not least, we're going to go to Nebraska, Lindsay Holy Family in Lindsay, Nebraska.
Hi.
Now that sounded unenthusiastic. Let's try that again. We'll pretend that didn't happen. Lindsay Holy Family. There you go. I like that. Thank you very much. So we're excited to have you all tuned in here today. And again, I'll remind you to just keep your microphones muted until we call upon you. As we go throughout the program, I will be calling upon you to ask questions. But before we do that, we're going to ask Mr. DeLamielleure to share his opening remarks. And before I unmute his microphone there, I would like to give you a little information about Mr. DeLamielleure, both on the field and off the field as well. He was born in Detroit, Michigan. He was selected by the Bills in the first round of the 1973 NFL Draft. He was All-America at Michigan State, won all rookie honors, durable. He played in 185 consecutive games. He anchored the Bills' famed electric company offensive line. Some of you might have seen Adrian Peterson rush for 2,000 yards last year. Well, Joe was the anchor for the NFL's first 2,000-yard rusher, O.J. Simpson, back in 1973. He was selected All-Pro and All-AFC 1975 through 1980. He was named to 6 Pro Bowls and was also named to the NFL's All-Decade team. And in 2003, he really had the highest honor that an individual player can receive, and that's being enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But what we like to do is not only show them, illustrate what they've done on the field, but off the field as well. And we find that Mr. DeLamielleure is a great example of this, that their off-the-field stuff really outshines their on-the-field stuff that they've done. And as you're studying your 6 pillars, and I talked about this in the early group, but I've known Joe for the past 8, 9, 10 years since he's been enshrined and since I've been here, is that two of the pillars that really stick out to me when I think of Hall of Famer Joe DeLamielleure. I usually don't think of him as a football player. I think of him because of the things that he does and it's citizenship and caring. Those are two pillars that I just think that just really stand out, and not by the way he talks or the things that he says, but what he does. And here's some examples. First of all, he does have a company. He does Joe D bands. You guys know the flex bands, stretching bands, and the things you can work out with. He not only has a line of those, but he also trains people with them. He's held events with Special Olympics for diabetes, Ronald McDonald House. But over the last 3 or 4 years, two really remarkable things he's done. Number one, a good friend of his and a teammate of his at Michigan State University, who had a goal of opening up an orphanage since he was young, because he was an orphan as well. Said he was going to open up an orphanage, and when the opportunity arose, Mr. DeLamielleure helped fundraise for that. And one of the ways that they did that was they biked. Now get this, from East Lansing, Michigan, not motorcycle bike, pedal bike, from East Lansing, Michigan, to Matamoros, Mexico, where that orphanage is currently serving children and was opened up at that time. They raised $1 million to be able to start that orphanage. So that just gives you some insight into Mr. DeLamielleure. And then this past Hall of Fame weekend, back in August, you saw the Hall of Fame game. The Cowboys and the Dolphins played in that Hall of Fame game. It was the first Sunday night football game of the preseason. There was the enshrinement ceremonies. Names like Chris Carter and Warren Sapp were enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Well, Mr. DeLamielleure decided that to help raise awareness for prosthetics and help raise funds for someone for new prosthetic legs, he walked from Buffalo, New York to Canton, Ohio. That was 213 miles over the course of 10 days. So he walked about 21 miles per day. Just to bring awareness to those that need prosthetics and to help raise funds for this young man that needed new prosthetic legs. So before I do ask Mr. DeLamielleure to share his opening remarks, what I would like to do is I'm going to go ahead and share a video for you guys. And you guys should see a media player, hopefully now, a little cone there. If you can just give me a head nod that you can see that. Yep, okay, very good. And actually, let me stop there for a second. I'm sorry. Technical errors, but technical errors on my part. Okay, we'll go ahead and play a video of him.
Guard Joe DeLamielleure was the anchor of two all-time great offensive lines. The electric company in Buffalo turned on the juice, running back O.J. Simpson. Joe also led an offensive line in Cleveland that blocked for NFL MVP Brian Sipe and 1,000-yard rusher Mike Pruitt. DeLamielleure would never miss a single game in his entire NFL career, one that was filled with personal awards. An 8-time All-Pro, he played in 6 Pro Bowls and was named the Offensive Lineman of the Year in 1975.
Okay, if you'd all unmute your microphones for a second and join me and give a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Joe DeLamielleure. And I've got your microphone unmuted there, Mr. DeLamielleure, so go ahead with your opening remarks.
Okay, good morning and good afternoon, I think, to some. Both. We got some people still in the morning. But I'm glad to do this. I'm happy to talk to a lot of students at one time. Technology is amazing. And when I come and do this, I can't even imagine this when I was in your grade school, that this happening in my lifetime. So it's pretty cool. And I have 6 children, but I got 10 grandchildren, same wife. So we've been married for a long time, and I'm one of 10, my wife's one of 8, so we've been around kids a long time. And one of my daughters is a 7th grade science teacher at Holy Trinity School in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I have a son who's a firefighter, and we got all kinds of people doing jobs in our family. But I'm really proud of my daughter who's a teacher, because she's been doing it for 11 years, and it makes a big difference in your lives, having a great teacher. So if there's questions, I'll be glad to answer them, and that's what we're here for. And let's start the program.
Okay, all right. What we're going to do is we're going to go in the order of Forest Hills, Lost Creek, Troy, and Holy Family, and I'll kind of be the voice in the background. If after Forest Hills asks their question and Mr. DeLamielleure answers it, feel free, Lost Creek next, to go ahead and unmute your microphone. And if I need to chime in at all, I'll chime in. But we will go ahead and just flow like that. Forest Hills, Lost Creek, Troy, and then Lindsay will go in that order. So Forest Hills, our good friends there, Kim and Jay. Go ahead, if your students are prepared, go ahead and start the program.
Mr. DeLamielleure, our class found out that you rode a bike from Michigan State to Mexico in order to raise money for an orphanage child. 2,000 miles in 18 days? Wow, that's impressive. Could you tell us more about this experience?
Yeah, when I went to Michigan State, when I was a freshman, the coach put me together with this guy. His name was John Shinsky, and he was an orphan. And the coach put us together because I was from a big family, and I grew up in Detroit, and he was from Cleveland. He was a long ways away from home. And he thought that it'd be a good idea if you put in a guy who was an orphan with a guy who was one of 10. And we kind of struck up a good friendship. And when he was 18 years old, I asked him what he's going to do. Like, we'd go against each other every day in practice, and he was a tough guy, one of the toughest guys I've ever played against. And I go, John, what are you going to do when you're older? He was 18 at the time. He said, I'm going to open an orphanage. And someday, he said, I'm positive I'm going to do that. And he said it so convincingly. We were married at Michigan State, my wife and I said, if I ever play in the NFL or make any kind of money, I'm going to adopt some kids because of John, what he did in his life. He became an academic All-American. He's got his PhD, and he actually opened an orphanage. And when he did, he came up with the idea of let's bicycle to Michigan State, and we'll ask people to give us a penny a mile. It's 2,000 miles, and we wanted to raise $1 million for our orphanage. And we did this, and then all of a sudden, the newspaper wrote a big article about it in New York Daily News. And then from that, CBS Sports picked it up, and they wanted to follow us through this thing. If you go on Shinsky Orphanage, SHINSKY, SHINSKY, it's about a 7-minute video, and I'll tell you the whole story. But the end of the story is we got 39 kids in there right now. We've had the orphanage for 11 years, and they're all doing well. And we educate those kids and get them an education and get them jobs, and they stay in the country of Mexico, and they become good, productive citizens. We actually use a lot of the same things your teachers are teaching you about this. We're teaching that at the orphanage, and it's a great place. It's really a good place. Kids, safe haven for the kids, and they learn a lot.
Go ahead, Lost Creek.
Mr. DeLamielleure, what pillar do you think is most important?
Actually, I said the last one. The last question I had. I think respect. I would go with respect, and because I think respect, everything falls into place. And if you respect your friends, your teachers, it's a basis of our culture. Of the world. If you respect each other, a lot of good things will happen. If you have no respect, then basically you don't respect yourself. And then you don't respect others. So I think when a lot of people is a bully, he doesn't respect himself. That's why he doesn't respect anyone else. And you can learn a lot from respect. That'd be the most important to me. And also trustworthiness, because if you can't be trusted, you never be a friend, and you have to be trusted. Those are the two that I would count.
And my apologies to the schools. You're noticing a little bit of lag. For whatever reason, our network here in Canton got zapped all of a sudden real quick. We got plenty of bandwidth, but I don't know what happened there. But it's showing a strong signal again. So I don't know if there was something our IT people were doing that I wasn't aware of. But obviously you still got the summation of what he was talking about with respect. Let's go with Troy.
Mr. What character qualities do you believe it takes to play football?
To play football, I still think responsibility, and to play football or any sport, I just don't count football. I played, when I was your age, I played all three sports. I have, like I said, I got 10 grandchildren. None of them play football, but they all play sports. And I think if responsibility, you have a responsibility to a teammate, to a classmate, and that makes you a good team player. If you realize how many kids are aware of that bullying incident in Miami. If that kid had responsibility, he would have never done that to another person. So that'd be the big key to your life, I think, to the pillars, the base of the pillars.
Let's go ahead, Lindsay. Actually, I don't see Lindsay.
I don't see her there, but I can't hear her either. I see a paper.
How did you use the 6 pillars of character when you played?
How did I use the 6 characters of the pillars when I played? I never thought of it as words like trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, citizenship. I never thought of it like that. I just, my mother always told us, you have respect for people and you treat them how you want to be treated. And that was for my whole life, that being in sports, being in school, talking to your teachers, talking to your classmates, have respect and treat others how you want to be treated. It's pretty simple. I think sometimes in life we try to make it a lot more complicated than it really is, when it's really trying to, just treat others the way you want to be treated and do the right thing. Most people know what the right thing is. And a lot of times they don't have guts enough to do it. But do the right thing and treat people with respect, and I don't think you get in a lot of trouble. I said this too. My mother always used to tell us, and I'm the 9th of 10 kids. I thank God so often that I had that many brothers and sisters, because it taught me pecking order. Like, everybody's got a place in the family, and you learn a lot from your older siblings, and they learn a lot from their younger siblings too. But my mother always said, you treat the janitor, you all have janitors at the school. You treat the janitor like the president, and the president like the janitor, and you'll be in good shape. And I always use that model my whole life. I try to treat everyone equally with respect.
Thank you, Lindsay. And real quick, Mr. DeLamielleure, if I can interject, you talked about at the beginning, the motivation that the Shinsky Orphanage did about adoption. Can you share with them a little bit about your family? That you've adopted a few kids and a little bit.
Yeah, I have 4 of my own children, biological. And then my wife and I, when we got married, she's from 8, I'm from 10. We always said we wanted 9 children, which sounds crazy, but we always wanted to have a large family. So after we had our 4, we started reading about adoption and that, and we adopted 2 Korean boys. And then when those boys got a little bit older, I was coaching high school football, and I ran into a couple kids who really needed a home. So we didn't bring them in as stepchildren. They just came or foster children. They just came and lived with us. So we had 2 African American kids and a white kid. So we had the United Nations in our house. Our 4, the 2 Korean boys, the 2 black kids, and a white kid. And we all these guys have graduated. All the kids have graduated, and they all are productive citizens. And I owe a lot to my wife. Her father was a fire chief in Detroit, and you had to have respect when you walked in our house when the kids were growing up. Everybody had a job. Our rules were written on a refrigerator, and the jobs were written on the refrigerator, and they check them off once they did their job. Then they could go out and play. And from that, all the kids graduated. So we must have done a pretty good job. But I give most of that credit to my wife.
Thank you, Mr. DeLamielleure. Let's go back to Sidman, PA, Forest Hills.
Mr. DeLamielleure, we also learned that you walked 213 miles from Buffalo, New York to Canton, Ohio to raise money for Grace's Lamp and children in need of prosthetics. What inspired you to do these wonderful things for these children?
Well, I met, first of all, it was my 10th year in the Hall of Fame. when you get in the Hall of Fame, it's in the city of Canton, Ohio, which is not a big glamorous city. It's kind of a blue-collar type town where we grew up. And when I got in the Hall of Fame 10 years ago, all the citizens like of the city, they always come up to you, are you going to come back? Are you coming back to Canton? I said, I would walk back here if I had to. I was just glad to be in. There are a lot of players who deserve to be in and they're not in. But for some reason, I got picked. And I said, if I ever get picked to be in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to use it as a platform to do some good things for, just people who don't have a voice. And so I ran into this kid. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Last year, I ran into this kid, Joey Thunderberg, and he was selling donuts at a Krispy Kreme. I don't know if you guys know what a Krispy Kreme is. It's a donut shop. And he was sitting on the table, behind the table like I am right now. And I went up to him and I go, he was selling donuts outside the donut store. So I go, what are you doing selling donuts here when I can go inside? He said, well, I'm trying to raise enough money, and Krispy Kreme is sponsoring me to buy some legs. And he stood up. He had these prosthetics on. He had no legs from the hips down, but he had these old prosthetics that he'd tip over and fall. He's 21 years old. And that was like a light went on in my head, like, oh, this is what God wants me to do. He wants me to walk for this kid with no legs, because I'm 62 years old. I could walk, and then we're doing a big thing at the Hall of Fame to bring a lot of attention to it. And I said, how much do those legs cost? They're prosthetics. And he said, $120,000. I go, what? You got to be kidding me. $120,000. How are you ever going to raise that kind of money? Well, I'm selling donuts. And I said, how many donuts would you have to sell? 77 dozen. So right away, I went home and I called Joe Horrigan. I said, he's the vice president of the Hall of Fame here. And I said, Joe, I found a reason why I want to walk from Buffalo to Canton. I want to see if the Hall of Fame would give me publicity and, do some marketing for me and tell people about this kid, and I'm going to do the walk. And we did it, and I figured out I'd do 20 miles a day, a little bit over 20 if I had to, and I'd make it in 10 days. Well, I did it, and people couldn't believe it, but you can do things when you have a purpose. If I had no purpose to do that, I doubt if I would have did it. The last 4 days, it was 104 degrees with the heat index, and I walked 8 hours a day. And I did it because it's the right thing to do when you try to help somebody. And literally, I pray to God every day, God, get me through this day. And I did it. And I did it in 10 days, and it was actually kind of easy, to tell you the truth, after I got going. And you can do amazing things when you put your head and heart into it. And I'm one of these guys. I pray all the time. I said, Lord, put me in a position to help the most people I can. That's all. That's the only prayer I say every day of my life. If I put me where I'm supposed to help the most people I can, and God answers all the time. I see the Catholic school there. I went 12 years of Catholic school. I never missed a game. I never missed a practice. I started playing football in the 5th grade, and I think it's divine intervention. And when I got in the Hall of Fame, I said, okay, God, now I'm going to start the rest of my life, really, because I'll have a platform where I can raise some money. And because unfortunately, you got to raise money most of the time to help people, but it'll give me a platform, and that's how I started doing it. And I'll do it till the day I die. I think it's the most important thing we can do is serve people.
And talking with Joe, he's planning on living to 100 years old, so he's still got 38 more years of these kind of things. So we're looking forward to it.
I work out all the time. Like, I work out every day. And people say, how often do you work out? I said, how often do you brush your teeth? Because I think you work out that's part of my life, because your body is your temple. God gave you your body to take care of, not to abuse. And I think I think you have to be spiritual I know I do, to get along in this world, because there's more to it than just getting up and going and find a job. Your teachers who are there, you're going to find out that somewhere along the line, while you're in grades K through 12, you're finding the most important people of your lives, because they're teaching you. They're your role models. Your parents are, for sure, but they can't do it all by themselves, so they need teachers. And I respect the teaching profession more than just about any profession in the country, because they do it. They don't get paid a lot of money, but they care for the kids, and they're raising our country. They're making it what it is today.
Thank you, Mr. DeLamielleure. Great question there for us, Tills. Let's go to Lost Creek, West Virginia.
What inspired you to play football?
Why did I try to play football? Is that the question?
Say it louder.
What inspired you to play football?
What inspired me to play football is I played all sports. I played football, basketball, and baseball, and I think I was pretty good in all of them. I actually made all-state in basketball, believe it or not, and I grew up in Detroit. But what inspired me was my older brothers. I got 4 older brothers, and everybody always say I want to be like Michael Jordan or LeBron James or anything, something like that. When I grew up, I just wanted to be like my brother Tom and Dave. They were really great high school athletes, and I was their water boy or bat boy half the time. And I just wanted to be like them. And then when I got in high school, all of a sudden, all these colleges started calling me and asking if I wanted to play football at their school. They're going to give me a scholarship. And that's what inspired me. I got a scholarship, and I'm the only one to go to school out of my 9 siblings, and I got the opportunity because I could play football. And then when I went to Michigan State, I just made up my mind before I even went there. If I go there and I can stay healthy, I'm not going to blow it. I'm going to get my degree. I got my degree in 4 years. A lot of the guys didn't even graduate from college who play in pro football. But I got my degree right on time, and I got drafted by the Buffalo Bills. And when I went to the Buffalo Bills, I just said, I'm going to make this team. No matter what it takes, I'm going to work out hard. And football is playing. I got to play my whole life till I was 35. People say, oh, you work so hard playing football. I never worked hard a day in my life. I played hard. And I've always thought that football players and athletes in general kind of have it made, because when you're in 2nd or 3rd, 4th grade, the athletes kind of stand out already, and then people give them special attention. I never let that go to my head. I knew that it was a gift, and if I succeed, it's divine intervention also, and also having a great family too, and great teachers. I know all my teachers. Like I can tell you, all my teachers 1 through 12, and a lot of my college professors, they made my life. I'm telling you, without great teachers, I would not be here, and coaches.
Well, Mr. DeLamielleure, I think with what you're saying about teachers, I think you got some fans in Sidman, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Idaho, and Nebraska right now. But I know you sincerely
tell
mean
the
that.
truth. I mean, if you tell the truth, that's it. And truthfulness is, if you kids will look back on your life. I remember one guy told me, who won the Oscar last year? Geez, I don't know. Who won the World Series 2 years ago? I think you can't even remember who. Who's your favorite teacher? Right away, boom, you know that. Who's your best coach? You know that, because it's in your head forever and it's in your heart forever. All this other stuff will pass, but the people who teach you will not.
Thank you very much, Lost Creek. Let's go to Troy Elementary School.
How do you feel football will help teach you more about the 6 pillars of character?
I couldn't hear you. Can you hear that, Jerry? Did you hear the question?
How did football help teach you about the 6 pillars of character?
Well, because you don't get everything you want all the time. And there's, you guys know what a pecking order is, right? Like there's order in life. The stronger, the better. Football, there's always someone better than you. And it's not a lot of times they say, oh, this guy's the biggest, fastest, strongest guy. He's usually not the best player on the team. It's a person with a heart. Somebody who tries harder, who listens to their coaches more. It's usually the guy who's really talented isn't the best player. It's other people. I played with a guy, Brian Sipe. He played quarterback. He's the most valuable player in the NFL. If you looked at him, you'd think he was just a regular guy. He was like 6'1" and 190 pounds, and he was the MVP of the league. He wasn't the biggest, fastest, strongest, but he practiced very hard. I mean, he really worked what he did, and I think that's what you do. Football teaches you consistency to get up every day and do the best you can. And that's the only thing you can do. Also with football, I did learn this: to be the best you can be, it's not very hard. All you have to do is one play at a time. I learned that when I was a kid. I had a coach who said, just take one play at a time, not one game at a time, one play at a time, including practice, and do the best you can in that play, and then forget about it. You learn how to do things. You do it well. You do it over and over well. But if you just do it one play at a time, and I'd always use this when I was coaching kids. If you have a spelling test, and the spelling test is Friday, and you have 10 pretty hard words, if you studied every day till Friday, how many people think they pass the test and get 100%? If you studied every day for the 10 words, how about if you only studied Friday morning and you have the test at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday? You think you'd pass? How many people pass? You won't get 100 unless you're a genius. But that's life. If you take it one day at a time, one moment at a time, and do the best you can, good things happen.
Thank you very much, Troy. Let's go to Nebraska. Lindsay, Holy Family.
In Nebraska, they have a high school all-star game called the Shrine Bowl. The game's motto is "Strong legs run, so weak may walk." How much of a difference do events like this make in the world?
I played the East-West Shrine game in college, and that is why I walked, because I got that plaque. I'm in a Shriners Hall of Fame, College Hall of Fame, and I got that plaque in my thing, and it's in my garage, and it says, "Strong legs walk, so strong legs run, so weak legs can walk." And that stayed with me since I've been 21 years old. I went to San Francisco with my wife, and that's actually a motto of my life, because God has given us ability to do things that other people can't do, and you help them out. Whenever you can help somebody, you try to help somebody. But I'm glad you said that, because that is a motto that I use my whole life.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. Let's go back to Forest Hills.
Mr. DeLamielleure, our class read that your most influential coach was Jim Ringo. What character traits did he possess that left such an impact on you?
Say, I didn't hear the question completely, Jerry. What'd she say, or he say?
Go ahead and repeat that, because you blocked out a little bit.
Our class read that your most influential coach was Jim Ringo. What character traits did he possess that left such an impact on you?
Well, Jim Ringo was my line coach. So in football, you have a head coach who coaches the whole team, basically. But then you break it down, and you have if you're a running back, you'd have a running back coach. Coach Ringo was my offensive line coach, but he played for the Green Bay Packers under Vince Lombardi, who's supposedly the greatest coach ever coached. And when I played in the Senior Bowl, the Buffalo Bills staff had me, and Coach Ringo was my line coach. And I wasn't the biggest guy at all at the Senior Bowl, but when we did weigh-in, I weighed 243. Coach Ringo said 255. He was reading out the weights, and he said, "I hope I see you in Buffalo." And they drafted me. If he would have said 243, I don't think I would have been drafted in the first round for sure. And then when I got to Buffalo, he did just what I told you. One day, one play. He kept saying it over and over again in my head. One play, not in a game. One play in practice, and then the next play, then the next play. So if you concentrated the most you can on just one play or one moment in the classroom, if you just take that day and just say, "I'm going to learn everything I can just in the present," not what I learned in first period or second period. You just went from period to period, day to day, hanging on each word your teacher says. All of a sudden, the days stack up, and they go by real fast, and you get smarter and smarter. And that's what football was. It was a real lesson for me, too. And he was the most influential person I ever met in my life.
Great questions there, Forrest Hill. You're definitely doing some research there. I like it. Thank you very much. Let's go to Lost Creek.
Did you feel safe playing football?
Say it
Do I
loud.
what?
Did you feel safe playing football?
Did I feel safe? Yes, I did. But now with all the research, it's a little scary. I'm glad I put it this way. I'm glad I didn't know how dangerous it was. But I think the game has gotten a lot better from when we played it with the concussions. When I played, nobody even knew what a concussion was. We had terrible equipment. Then when I played college ball, we had artificial turf was basically like covered concrete, like the stuff you're standing on right now. So through the years, they made it a better game. It's a lot better. It's a lot safer now than it ever has been. But I never once thought it was unsafe. I knew it was tough, and you could break a leg, or you could, you know, break your wrist, hurt your shoulder. But I never in a million years thought we didn't even know what a concussion was. But I'm glad there's a saying: with knowledge comes responsibility. Now that they know that all these things can happen to people, now they got to make it a better game. They got to make it safer, which they're trying to do. And I think it is safer. But I never had a fear of getting hurt, ever.
Thank you, Lost Creek, and let's go to Troy.
Hi, we're having technical difficulties right now, so we're having a lot of trouble hearing. So I think we're going to have to actually exit and not ask any more questions. Bye.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Troy. I'm glad we guys get at least connected for a little bit. So thank you very much. We're going to go to Lindsay, Nebraska.
What is your favorite memory of participating in athletics?
My favorite memory is the very first game I started in the NFL. Not the exhibition game, the very first league game. We played the New England Patriots, and back then they had announced the team. And I just was thinking to myself, when they're going to say, well, they're going to announce Joe DeLamielleure starting right guard for the Buffalo Bills. Honestly, I thank God for my parents, because I'm the ninth. When my mother had me when she was 43 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, here I'm starting in the National Football League. I don't think my mother and father ever thought in a million years, when they had all those kids running around, that they had one that would play in the National Football League. And it wasn't about me. It was about all the sacrifices my mother and father made, sending me to a Catholic school and all my siblings to a Catholic school. To have 10 kids go 12 years in a Catholic school, it was not easy. And that's my most memorable moment of pro football. And of course, getting in the Hall of Fame, that was a big deal, but that was, years after.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. Let's looks like we got about 15 minutes left, something like that. So we still got maybe go through a few more rounds. Go to Forest Hills.
Mr. DeLamielleure, why is Jared Allen your favorite NFL player? Does he possess the same outstanding character traits as you, or do you just like him for the way he plays?
I've never met Jared Allen. I just like the way he plays, because he plays hard every play. He isn't a hot dog, and I enjoy watching him, because I know he never takes a day off or a play off, and that I feel that was the type of player I wanted to be and I tried to be, and he's one of the modern guys who does it every down, and that's why he's my favorite player. That's pretty interesting that you found that. I didn't know that was out there, but he is my favorite player.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Lost Creek.
Why was trustworthiness important to you as a football player?
Jerry, I didn't hear you.
Why is trustworthiness important to you as a football player?
Why is what?
Trustworthiness.
Trustworthiness? Well, I think if you look what's going on in the paper today and all the last couple of days, the kid from Miami, I can't even remember his name, but and bullying the other kid on the same team. I mean, that to me is like, if you can't trust somebody to be a good teammate and not to be a bully or in anything, but trustworthiness. If you can't trust your friends in high school and college and grade school to be your friend and not try to do something stupid, and then I won't have much use for them. But I do think if you can't trust somebody, then it takes away all kinds of friendships. Anytime you want to work with them or anything, you don't want to be around a person like that. So that's why I think it's the most important thing to have on a team.
Thank you very much. I'll check one more time just in case, because I think they're still there. If Troy, if you guys are doing okay, if you guys wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Troy.
Have any of the teams you played lied or cheated, and how did it make you feel?
See, I can't hear that one, Jared. Just what's the question? Repeat the question that you hear to me.
Have any of the teams you played lied or cheated, and how did it make you feel?
The other teams that I played with, how does it make me feel? What did she say, Jerry?
Yeah, have any of the other teams you played against lied or cheated, and how'd that make you feel?
The teams I played, no. Actually, I talked about that to a guy today at the Hall of Fame. He said, "Did you ever play against a dirty player?" I never played against not once did I play against a guy who was cheating or not playing fairly. And I played probably in 230 or 40 football games professionally and in college. I bet you through my career, I probably played close to 280 games. And I've never once ran into a guy who was a dirty player. Maybe I'm just lucky, but it's just the way it is. I never have, and I enjoyed every team I played on.
And just so you guys know, it could be just because Joe got head slapped a lot in the NFL, so he's got like 70% hearing loss in his one ear. So
yeah, they changed a lot of rules from when I played. I was on a wedge for 13 years, and I'm deaf in this ear. I don't know if you can see my hearing aid, but it's from getting hit in the head. That's my injuries. But I didn't know all these things would happen to you as you got older, but they do. But they could happen in anything. Could happen in other sports also. But I will tell you this: I got 5 grandsons, and to be very honest with you, I hope they play another sport. Until we got to make football safer, even more safe than it is now, and it's a lot better than it was. But I would be worried. My mother-in-law never really watched me play. They would go to the games. They closed their eyes until the whistle was over. Then they'd get and see if I'd get up, and they're saying, "Man, you get up after every whistle." So I've been very fortunate.
Thank you very much, Troy. Glad you guys could stay connected there. Let's go to Holy Family.
Who was your biggest role model when you played in the NFL?
When I played in the NFL, my biggest role model, I don't know if I had a role model, like who I wanted to play with. I played right guard, so I'd watch Larry Little and I'd watch Bob Kuchenberg, guys who played my position, Ed White. And what's kind of amazing is I wanted to be like a guy named Ed White. He played with the Minnesota Vikings, and I wanted to play just like Bob Kuchenberg, who played with the Miami Dolphins. And I thought I played just like him, and I think I did, but they didn't get in the Hall of Fame, and I am. I actually thought those guys were the greatest guards I've ever seen play, and they're not in the Hall of Fame, but that's just the way it goes. I mean, I'm thankful I am in, but I wish those guys were in too, because I knew they were great players who played my position.
Thank you, Lindsay. Let's go back to Forest Hills. Should be able to go through one, maybe 2 more times through everyone.
Mr. DeLamielleure, when Mr. Shockey invited us to video conference with you, Mr. DeLamielleure, we knew nothing about you. After researching you, we were impressed with all of your accomplishments on and off the field. And now, after talking to you, we think you're one of the most down-to-earth and greatest men we've met. And it's very obvious that you are a Christian. Do you have a favorite Bible verse?
Mine is, maybe it's because I got so many kids, honor thy father and mother. I think if you do that, and I honored my father and mother, and my wife, I know she honors her father and mother. I think if we had more homes where kids were loved and told that they're doing good and not being so critical of people, I think this would be a lot better place. Everybody has something good that they can do. I adopted a boy from Korea, and we got him when he was like 4.5, 5 years old. He went to kindergarten for 2 years. He just struggled with school. It was just all the way through until 12th grade. But this guy could do anything mechanically. So now he lives in Virginia Beach. He went to the apprentice school, and I suggest all the teachers look into this for kids who aren't real academic. And he's a welder, and he's a supervisor on this thing. He's 30 years old now, and he can do anything with his hands. God gives us all gifts. Everybody's got a gift. That's why we're not all the same. And when you're on a good team, I couldn't throw a football if my life depended on it. Yet I played on a football team, and I played with guys who could throw the ball a mile, but they couldn't block. Everybody has something that they can contribute and then it makes everything a good team. It's just like your classroom. Some people are artistic, some people are great in math, some people can spell, but most people don't have it all. But when you put all the ingredients together, you have something special, and that's just the way it is.
Thank you very much, Forest Hills. Let's go Lost Creek.
Say it loud.
Did you have a lot of responsibility as a football player?
Did I have a lot of responsibility where?
As a football player.
As a response, compared to your mother and father, no. I mean, I got that question asked one time. A guy said, "There's a lot of pressure on this game, is it, or playing football?" I said, "There's absolutely no pressure on playing football. It's a game. You know, the pressure is self-imposed. I know that if I practiced and did what I was told to do all week, the game would be easy. And it's no different than you taking the spelling test, like I said before. If you study from Monday till Thursday and you take the fresh test Friday, you have no worries. If you take the test Friday and you start studying Friday morning, you're in trouble. I prepared myself the best way I could, the best way the coaches told me to. But in reality, that's just a game. Your mom and dad and your teachers and policemen, firemen, soldiers, people who have real jobs, that's pressure. And that's hard. Playing a game is fun, and always has been for me.
Thank you very much, Lost Creek. Let's go to Troy Elementary School.
We are breaking up really bad again, so we're going to have to opt out.
Okay, all right, thank you. You came through okay
Thank you.
there, but yeah, I do see that your bandwidth's dropping up and down there. So, but hopefully you're still able to catch some of the things that he's saying. Let's go to Lindsay Holy Family.
What do you believe is your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment is not in sports. It's raising 6 kids and then the 3 other boys, and having them all graduate from college or a trade school. Staying married to the same girl for 41 years, she's put up with a lot. So those are my biggest accomplishments to this day. Football is getting into the Hall of Fame. That's an accomplishment. But you don't get into the Hall of Fame by yourself. You get into it with great teammates and great coaches. And if I didn't have good teammates and great coaches, I would not be here. So, you know, it's not about one person. It's about a team.
And just in case you guys didn't know, Mr. DeLamielleure has known his wife since first grade. So they were good friends through school. And if you want to share a little bit about that, Mr. DeLamielleure.
Yeah, well, she lived around the block from me. We lived in a city in Detroit, a big city, and we'd walked to school since first grade. I have never not known my wife. She lived around the block, and she's the oldest of 8, and I'm the youngest of 10. So my brothers used to take her aunts out, and they'd babysit for us. So they asked my wife one time, "When did you meet your husband?" And she said, "When do you meet your brother?" She goes, "I don't remember." And I don't remember ever meeting her the day we met. I've known her forever. And I was really fortunate because, like I said, I know there's public schools out there, but I went to a Catholic school, and we were always in the same classroom for 12 years. And we've known each other we finished each other's sentences. We've known each other so well. There's not another person in the world I know better than her, or she knows better than me. So we've been very lucky, and we've had a lot of fun. It's not all serious. We screw around a whole lot. We're not real serious at home. We have a lot of fun, a lot of laughter. And my college coach told me this, and I kind of live by this motto too. To play football, he always said but I think you can apply this to life too. You need 3 bones. You need a backbone to stand up for things. You need a wishbone to wish things. You always have to dream. But the most important bone of all you have to have is a funny bone, because you're only going through this world one time, so you got to enjoy it while you can. And things aren't as bad as you think. You watch television, like if you watch Fox television, I get up and I'll watch the news every now and then. It's so depressing because all they do is report crime and robberies and, you know, bad things happening all over the world. And then you walk outside, like when I did the walk and when I did the bicycle ride, so many people come up to you. "What are you doing? Can I help you? oh, what you're doing is really great. Here, I'll donate $2 or $3. Half these people don't have $2 or $3. They'll give you $2 or $3 for someone who's less fortunate than themselves. And if you go to school every day, you got to admit that school is a lot more fun than they make it out to be. It's a great place to be, great place to meet friends, teachers. Just have a good time. Life would be horrible without school. So, but just enjoy the time you have, because time goes by quickly.
I think we've got time for maybe a couple more questions. Let's go to Sidman, PA, Forest Hills.
Go ahead.
We are big Steeler fans here in Pennsylvania. We read that Mean Joe Green was one of your toughest opponents. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, he was he's a couple years older than me. So when I was at Michigan State, I was already hearing about Mean Joe Green. It's like, oh gosh, that would be something to have to play against that guy. Then all of a sudden we line up. I'm playing against Joe Green. It's like, man, I'm living a dream. I'm like, this is something I wished would happen when I was in college, and never think in a million years you play against the guy. But he was a great player, and he's a great guy. He's done these teleprompters or whatever it's called, Heart of a Hall of Famer. He's done this also. He cares a lot about a lot of people, and he was a mean football. He wasn't a mean football player. He's a great football player, but he's really a great human being. And that's the best part. If anybody asks me what's the best part of the Hall of Fame, you meet these guys who are so competitive on the field and so tough to play against. Then you meet them. Now we're all friends, and it's really a great experience. You got lifetime friends from playing sports.
And we'll go 2 more questions. We'll go Lost Creek.
What events as a child shaped you into who you are today?
Say that again, Jerry. Plus,
What events as a child helped shape you into the man you are today?
the men who made me I am today. Is that what it is?
What life events during your childhood helped shape you into the man you are today?
My life event was being in a family of 10. Like I shared a bed with 2 of my brothers till they got out of the house. Till they were I never slept by myself till I was 16 years old. Then all my brothers were gone. We had 1 bathroom with no lock. 5 girls in the family. No shower, just a tub. That was the best events of my life. People would say, "How could you like that more than anything?" I just do. I loved being from a huge family, and we were all. My mom and dad were unreal. I mean, we didn't even have a washer and a dryer. We used to take the clothes to the laundry at the end of the block, and that was one of my most enjoyable times. To go down there with my sisters, we'd wash the clothes, bring them back clean, and it sounds simple, but we lived a simple life. 1 television. Could you imagine that, guys? 1 television in your whole house, and it was black and white. It only had 3 channels. That's how we grew up, and I loved it. I wish it was more like that, because you get real close to your brothers and sisters and your neighbors. I knew everybody on our block. Now I live in a city. We live in a house. It's not a big fancy house or anything. I only know a few of my neighbors. I could tell you all the neighbors to this day who lived on my block, and things are different. We had 1 car with 10 kids. Can you imagine that? And it's just a different world we live in. It's better in a lot of respects, but sometimes it's not so good to have so much.
And for the last question of the program, let's go to Lindsay, Holy Family.
What was the most difficult place you had to play
in? Buffalo. No, I mean, teasing. The hardest place I ever played in, for whatever reason, we played in Kansas City. Every time we played there, it was freezing cold, like the winds coming off the plains. It was like one year it was 6 degrees, and then another year we played down there, it was like 12 degrees with a 4 or 5 degree wind chill. That was a tough place to play, and the turf we played on was like concrete. So I never looked forward to playing in Kansas City because it was tough. And Curly Culp was one of the guys I played against who got in the Hall of Fame last year. He made it even tougher.
And I know Mr. DeLamielleure's got to catch a flight here in about 90 minutes, actually, to go back to North Carolina. But to close the program, Mr. DeLamielleure, is there anything you'd like to share with the students to close this out?
Just to close it out, do the best you can. That's, everybody tries to make things real complicated. hang around with good friends. When I coach, there's three things I always tell the players are going to change your life: the books you read, the shows you watch, and the friends you hang around with. So if you watch bad things on the internet, you're not getting anything out of that. You read dirty books, same deal. Why, hang around with people who are not good characters. They're not good people. Then you're going to associate with those type of people, and that's what you're going to be. So you are what you eat. They say that all the time, and you are who you hang around with. So find good friends, go to good schools, and respect yourself, basically. Then you will respect other people. That's about it.
All right. Well, Mr. DeLamielleure, thank you. Let's if all the students, if you could unmute your microphones there at the schools and join me and give a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Thank you. Students, teachers, you guys know, first of all, amazing questions. You guys definitely did some amazing hard work to prepare for this, so thank you very much. We hope to see you in Canton, Ohio someday. I know some of you are very close. I know Sidman PAs, our friends there, have been here to Canton, Ohio before. Maybe not that particular class, but previous classes have. But hopefully we see you here in Canton, Ohio. But if not, hopefully we can reconnect in the future. Thank you for tuning in here today, and this concludes our program. Take care.